Okay, the next thing we'll want to do is create the side walls of the cannon to help prop the barrel up. So if we press spacebar and click to drag across, we're then going to choose the brush tool again. Going back over to the side view, we want to create a new layer. Okay, so to draw our sidewall in, we're going to go from the back of the base, 3 grid spaces across. We just want to click once on the corner of this grid space, and then we want to go up 2 grid spaces, putting the cursor there, holding down Shift, and then clicking once. We then want to go 3 more grid spaces up, but then 1 across, so up here. Again, pressing Shift and clicking. From here we want to go about halfway up this grid space, pressing Shift, clicking. We then want to hold Shift again, click, and then drag all the way across to the 3rd grid space. Then to this grid space, Shift, click there. Then we're going to want to go down 3 more grid spaces so it lines up with the other side, but then we want to go 1.5 grid spaces to the left. Click, and then holding Shift and then clicking 1 more time, we're just going to drag straight down to finish off the side wall there. Okay, great. So we're going to scroll up a little bit now, just so we can start to see the top view. Click back on the top view and create a new layer. We're just going to get the rectangle marquee tool. We're going to use the bottom sidewall as a reference. So if you come straight up, we're just going to follow that line, and we're going to start drawing our rectangle for the top view. So we want to make this one go halfway across this grid space, just to match up with the one down here. Right click on there and do stroke. Just clicking once to get off that selection. We're going to choose the paintbrush tool again. We'll keep it on the same layer for this one. We just want to create a line for where we've got these creases on our side wall. So if we take this one, we want to draw a line from here to here, one for here to here, one for here to here, holding down Shift while I'm doing this, another one down here, and that was fine. So we want to go and do the front view now. In the same way, going to the front view, creating a new layer, choosing the rectangle marquee tool again, pressing spacebar and panning the camera across, and using the side view as a reference, we're just going to come across here about halfway up one of the grid spaces, right click and stroke. Clicking once to get off there, going back to the paintbrush, and we're just going to do the same thing by adding a line on there for this crease and the one down here. Okay, great. So at the moment we're just going to do one side of the wall because the other side is a mirror image. We're going to finish off some other details, and then we're just going to flip it across, and that goes for the top view as well. So going back down to the front view now, we're just going to stay on layer 7. I'm actually just going to use the brush tool, and we want to paint a line straight across from here, just one grid space across, and then we're going to come about halfway down here to this spot, just clicking once, then holding shift and going 1.5 grid spaces up, letting go, then putting the cursor back on the edge of the first line, holding shift and then clicking once just to finish off that object. And these are just going to be little side pieces to help support these side walls. To make that in the side view, I'm just going to pan back across. I'm actually going to create a new layer for the side view. Go up to the rectangle selection tool, and just where you've got this little kink up here, I'm just going to draw a line from there, draw the shape, and right click and do stroke and go OK. We're then going to want to draw a line about halfway, so starting there, holding shift and then just drawing straight across. Because this shape here, we want one over here as well, what we can do is right click on layer 8, duplicate it, go OK, using the move tool, just holding shift and moving that into place over there. Okay, so to finish this off and get these little side pieces up on the top view as well, going to click on the top view, create a new layer. We're then going to come over and choose our selection tool again and draw a 1x2 rectangle, right click and go stroke. Like we were just doing, clicking on the brush tool and creating a line about half a grid space up. Once that's done, clicking back on the selection tool, tapping once, and we've got this new object. Like we did on the side view, right clicking, duplicate, OK, clicking on the move tool, pressing shift and then just dragging that over into place. We're now going to create a piece of metal that's part of the barrel. It'll be connected to this piece, but it'll be sticking out a little bit on this side. We're also going to create a little metal ring that's part of this side wall that the other piece of metal will sit inside of. So to make this, we're going to go back down and create a new layer, going over and choosing the selection tool and then pressing Control and apostrophe to turn off the grid. We're then going to draw a selection just like this, right click and do stroke, and this is the piece of metal, this is the metal ring that's part of the side wall. So now I'm just going to select the move tool. I'm just going to nudge that to the right just a little bit so it's closer to the back. Then going back to the selection tool, just making another shape here, right clicking and stroke, and that's exactly what we're looking for. We're now going to right click and duplicate this layer, and then with the move tool we're going to move it all the way down to this side, pressing Control T to go into free transform mode. We're going to do rotate 90 degrees counterclockwise, and then pressing enter to lock that in. Because this is part of the front view, I'm just going to slide that down. And then just going to position this so it's about, just going to use the arrow keys on the keyboard to put that against the wall. We're then going to go up to the brush tool and then finding this line just here, follow that across, click once, holding shift and just joining up to the barrel there. And we're just going to do the same thing for the bottom line down here. Go across, click and press shift, and we'll just draw that line in like that. We'll click back on the side view now and create a new layer. Going up to the circle marquee tool again. This time we're going to use this top view as a reference. Just click, hold shift, and then create a circle that's the same width as the rectangle up here. Right click and do stroke. Clicking off that, and then create another new layer. Doing the same thing, but this time using the width of the barrel's rectangle. Right clicking, going stroke, and then OK. Clicking off the object to remove the selection. Clicking on the move tool and then using the down arrow on the keyboard. I'm just going to center that up a little bit better. Now going to do Control E again to merge down, and then holding shift with the move tool, dragging that down over here. We also want to make sure that this lines up pretty well with the one on the other side, so that needs to come down just a little bit. If we have the grid turned off, we can come up to the ruler up here, click and drag down, put that there, and we can see that the top of this line doesn't match up with our circle at the moment. So I'm just going to use the down arrow till that lines up. And now that that's all lined up, I'm just going to click on that blue line, drag it back up here, and that will turn that off. And now we have our support completed in all of our views. The next thing we're going to do is I'm going to go back to the top view, clicking on layer 10 and scrolling up. I'm going to now collapse down our side supports with our two side objects and onto the side wall. Once that's one object, I'm going to right click and duplicate the layer and go OK. Pressing Control T to go into free transform mode again. I'm going to do flip vertically. Once we've got this, we can use the move tool and apply. Pressing shift, we can just move this up so the edge of this lines up with the edge of the barrel. I'm just going to nudge that back down with the arrow keys. I'm now going to go down to the front view, where we're going to use the same process to copy the right hand side wall here over to the other side. So layer 10 copy was our side support. Layer 7 is the rest of the side wall, so I'm just going to do Control E just to collapse that down onto the one object. Right clicking on this layer, duplicating it, pressing Control T, flipping horizontally, pressing Enter to lock that in, and then pressing Shift and then just dragging that across onto the other side.